All right, Maui, I got an anime question of the week for you, and it's tailor made just for you. I'm telling
Just
you, just for
the
you.
Louis, the Louis be making me freaky.
You wild for that. All right. Question of the week.
Uh,
So,
let's
in a
go.
world where no one in the Leaf went rogue or did any type of shady shit, so no type of massacres, nobody went rogue, and all of the big boys are reasonably still alive, so old age still exists. Nobody's immortal or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay.
At the time that Hiruzen, the third Hokage, for the first time gave up his seat as Hokage to the fourth Hokage, who would have been
Oh,
Minato,
right.
who would have instead taken that place, or would Minato still would have been chosen for the fourth Hokage? Why or why not?
Okay. So
He came
let's
in
think of
hard.
it.
Okay.
No, let's think of the time period. So the time period,
Mm,
Minato was chosen as Hokage a couple weeks prior or a week prior to Naruto being born.
mm.
So the strongest ninjas at the time, their ages probably would have been Kakashi and Itachi were both teenagers. Um, they were both because they were getting out of Anbu. This is around when Itachi massacred the Uchiha.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he didn't massacre the Uchiha at this time. Obito was also a teenager because this was his like this was like the Shippuden of their time. The strongest ninjas were like teenagers at
When
the
you
time,
say
like
teenager,
15.
how old are we talking?
They're like 15, 16.
I
Shit,
mean,
Itachi was
Naruto won the
16.
war at 15, what, 16? Or was
Yeah,
it
but he didn't
17?
become
14?
Hokage until he was in his 20s.
True.
So they still had Kakashi running it until Naruto was older.
Hmm.
Um, Kakashi, yep. Madara would have been dead from old age. Toby Rama would probably still be around. Still racist. No, but there was no war. So like here's the thing. It's funny to make that joke, but like there wouldn't have
I'll
been a
accept that
war.
there's still war. Like
But
the
there was still
warring nations that
well
still happened.
actually
Once they
yeah, they
became a
did
village, no more.
because before they became a village, it was the Uchiha versus
Hmm.
the Hashirama clan, or the Senju clan, excuse me. Um, so his whole racist ass is to do. Here's what I think. So this is I thought about this actually a while ago. I had a conversation with somebody about this because they're a big Naruto fan. I believe that if the Hokage didn't all die because of like war, because of them assassination stuff like that, and they were just able to age, and like the next, like say Minato was around and the first couple few, the last three Hokage were still around,
Hmm.
the council that they have right now, you know how Hiruzen would go and talk to the council.
Hmm.
I don't think that they would exist. I think the old Hokage would be the council.
Hmm.
So the older Hokage, but because the Hokage keep dying and the new one is like we've only had like what a retired one alive at a time, and then
Yeah.
he barely survives for like maybe a couple arcs and then he dies. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But if they were all still around at the time, like Naruto was Hokage, Kakashi was still there, Tsunade was still there, all of them, they would all have like an actual like
Yeah, the seat at the table.
they would have a seat at the table. So I don't think that that council would be there. My problem would be making an Uchiha. There's not really a lot of there's strong Uchiha. Don't get me wrong in the police force, but the strongest ones are still kids. Itachi wouldn't have been as strong as he is. He was very strong. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah, of
but he
course.
wouldn't have been as strong as he was without murdering his clan.
Mm.
So because that's how he got the Mangekyo Sharingan. So he wouldn't have been as strong. Plus, he's still a teenager. Naruto won the war, and he still didn't get Hokage until he was in his 20s.
Mm.
So I don't think it would have been an Uchiha, and because Toby Rama's racist ass is sitting at the table. Um,
I agree with you
but
there.
I don't think I don't think any Uchiha would be Hokages because one, the strongest ones are still young,
Mm.
strongest, right? I mean, they had to do the massacres at most to be the strongest, but um, even his dad, even Itachi and Sasuke's dad, he was strong, but he wasn't like that. And again, Tobirama's racist ass is sitting at the table, and so I don't
Uchiha's not
think,
making it. I'm
yeah,
with you.
like even though as much as I would like an Uchiha to be an Okage, you know what I'm saying, because I'm a Uchiha stan, like it just wouldn't happen.
Mm.
Minato is still a very strong because even before the Shinobi War, he was already that guy.
Mm.
Um, Wars are still happening with other nations.
Yeah.
So we still have the Senju, or not Senju,
The Sonic.
The
Oh,
Sanin. So the Sanin are still around.
mm.
Orochimaru's not doing shady shit. Tsunade is still around. Jiraiya's not leaving the village. He didn't go
Oh,
rogue
you
or
just
like
opened up a
disappear.
whole new bag. I didn't even think about them.
Exactly, and they're in their prime at this point. I
Mm.
mean, you could argue like Jiraiya got stronger as he got older because he
Yeah.
learned more, but let's be honest, like Jiraiya was war torn. He was like battle ready.
Mm. And he's still
I even
working with
believe
Minato.
correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I believe that at one point when he was in the legendary Sannin still, they talked about him becoming Hokage, and he said he would consider it. I think I remember that conversation.
Mm.
So he might be in the running there. I believe that Jiraiya could like high diff beat Minato at that point,
Mm.
at that stage. I mean, Jiraiya was their teacher,
Yeah,
was his teacher.
but he
So
was a
it was
genius. That's the reason why he was
yeah,
able to
he
push back.
was right. Um,
Touched in the head. What was that?
like he's smart. He's
Oh,
smart.
okay. He got brains.
Yeah, yeah, he's smart. There's not really a lot of other like really strong contenders for the throne when he gave it up the first time because we don't know about other shinobi that may have died in the war when
Mm.
this was happening when Madara invaded the village or technically Obito but also Madara. I guess Madara would still be around because he technically had that like sting in his back, but he was only doing that to preserve his body
Mm.
so he can continue the war.
So you
But
can
it,
continue
with
doing
his
fuck
own
shit.
doing fuck shit. But if he wasn't gonna do that fuck shit anymore, he probably would have just died of old age.
Mm.
Um, so
Wait,
or
would that put him on the elder panel then? Like he's one of
I
the
think
greats, even if he wasn't a Hokage.
he would have died. There's been discussions about like he needed that machine to keep him alive,
Mm.
and he was only using that machine so he can continue to gaslight Obito into doing his bidding.
Uh
You know what
huh.
I'm saying? So, um, I think it would be between three people personally.
Mm.
Um, Orochimaru,
That's my one of my choices.
Minato still,
Mm.
and Jiraiya. I think those would be the top three contenders for the throne.
Mm.
And then if you want to go like next Hokage, it would probably end up either being Kakashi or like Itachi, like things like that in the future,
Mm.
because those are considered. But the only problem with this question is like a lot of that fuck shit and a lot of that stuff that is fucked up the massacres. That's what made those individual people stronger.
Mm.
Like Kakashi got strong during the war. Yes, they were already prodigies when they were kids. Don't get me wrong, but they got a power boost or a power up because Obito died and got his eye because
Mm.
which I guess technically he still would have like died and taken his eye because we said war still exists between other
Yeah.
nations. So he still
So
would
the
have
whole
like
golden
died,
incident
but
still happened.
Obito would have came back. Obito would have came back and been like, "Hey guys, still alive," you know what I'm
Mm.
saying? But the whole another problem is Madara saved Obito's life. So like
Did Madara save his life, or was White Zetsu?
it was Zetsu. Zetsu
Mm.
saved. Zetsu saved him, but
So he's still
Madara
a bad guy.
told,
We got to remember that he's not part of the
but
Leaf.
yeah, but Madara told Zetsu to
Mm.
save Obito.
Sure, gotcha.
So if that never happened, Obito would have died, regardless.
Okay.
So Obito would be dead at this point. So we can't even rule in Obito. So Kakashi would still have the Sharingan,
Mm.
all that stuff. The war would still happen. So Kakashi would still be fairly strong, um, but they're still teenagers at this time. Naruto is the goat in his show, and he didn't get it till he was in his 20s. They still make Kakashi run the bitch for like a minute.
Mm.
So I'm thinking Orochimaru, Jiraiya, or Minato would still be, because if the wars still made them strong as well, and if we're still considering wars from other nations, like they would still get their little power ups and shit like
Yeah.
that. So who would win? I think Orochimaru wouldn't win only because of popular opinion. I think because of his even yeah, he was doing fuck shit, but he
Mm.
still would have that quirk. He'd still be the scientist. He'd still be the experimental ninja. He'd still be the weird, creepy snake guy. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he would be popular enough to win. Win the Hokage ship.
Yeah.
I think Minato. At the time, Jiraiya didn't have the charisma.
Mm.
He was funny and still goofy, but he wasn't like the old like funny guy that everybody liked. You know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't like that yet. I think Minato had the charisma and the popularity to still honestly pull the W.
Mm.
Yes, Jiraiya and Orochimaru are stronger at that point. I mean, that's like that's debatable, really, because Minato was fast. He was good.
Hmm.
And he had battle IQ for days. He figured out Obito's Kamui in like half a second. But I think Minato, like with the voting system and kind of like popularity, Minato's still more popular. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I don't want to like cheese the game and really just make this whole conversation for nothing and still say Minato at the end of it. But
Hey,
like
that's perfectly acceptable.
talking through it though, those would be the top three contenders, and then I think Minato just by popular vote, unless they did like a because so far what I've seen is Hokages have either been voted on by a panel or voted by the people. It's always been different. Every time we see a Hokage election or they do a flashback, whatever it is, it's always different. So I
Yeah.
don't know if they did by a panel, it'd probably be Jiraiya. If they did it by popular vote, it'd probably be Minato.
Hmm.
And then if they just did like say they were in war again, which I mean they were in war when this happened, but say they were in like heavy war and like they probably do Jiraiya or Orochimaru. I'm thinking probably Orochimaru. But if it was peacetime and everybody was chilling, they Minato. It'd be Minato.
Cool,
Like
cool. I'm with you. I'm
yeah.
with you. I have one choice different from yours.
Okay.
So I
Maybe I'm not.
actually,
Maybe I'm thinking of somebody. I don't
no,
know.
no, you're good. You're good. I think you're missing one detail, and I might be just completely wrong. So let me talk it out. So I'm
Okay.
still with Orochimaru. I'm
Mm.
still with Minato. I'm not with Jiraiya because, like we've already said, Jiraiya turned down the position. He didn't want the position. So I think they're
Well, he
going to
did
keep
that
that
in
in
the
mind.
future.
I
He
mean,
did that when he was old.
he would have they would have asked him beforehand when it came to a Monato's time, and I think he was just off on his own journey at the time. Either he wasn't there, or he just says, "No, I'm not interested in the position." So I think that third space again, I could be wrong.
I'm just trying to think of like when the Sanin were out, when the Legendary Three were out warring. What
Hmm.
was Minato doing at the time? And I can't remember
He's
how
out
old he
warring too.
was.
He was out warring too
Yeah. So
because
yeah. So he
he
wasn't
was
out.
the
So he wasn't off
legendary.
doing his own thing.
He was
Fighting.
the legendary Flash. So he was around. So they had to have asked him. Let's be real here. So
But he never. I don't know.
my thing is, I think that spot would have been given to Sonata. Third spot, whether she was chosen or not, I think it would have been given to Sonata. Sonata's thing was her boyfriend, he died. She had this whole thing with blood, but the first and second Hokage are still alive. This is still kind of like a blood thing. They had already
They
looked
wouldn't
at
be
her
alive.
because it was
I
they.
don't think they'd be alive. I mean,
I think
maybe
they would
I
still be in
think
their old age. I think the first Hokage would probably still be alive.
I think out of everybody, only because of the thousand healing, I
Mhm.
think Hashirama would maybe still
Yeah,
he'd still be
I give him
alive
that
though.
one. So
But Toby Rama, I think he'd be like on maybe on his deathbed or like
even
really
on his
rickety.
deathbed, but she's still a part of the family, the Senju family. And I think that might give her the edge. So I think it's going to come between
Yeah,
her. Again, if it's wartime and they need to make a decision, it might become between her and Orochimaru. If it's more closer to a peacetime,
yeah.
still a little bit worrying, it's going to become between her and Minato. That's just from my
So here,
perspective.
so my only rebuttal to that would be, and the reasoning kind of, I'm like gonna talk myself out of it here, but just to talk through it,
Mm,
is they didn't want her. So, and this is not headcanon technically, but this is context clues. When they were trying to make her Hokage the first time, like in our show that we have, the council didn't want her, and other people didn't because she was a woman,
true,
right?
true.
So that tells me that 17, 20 years ago, it would have definitely been a no-no. But I already said that I don't think the council would have been there because the other
Mm.
Hokage would have been there. So that whole woman thing, I mean,
And it's
even
his
if she is a Sentry,
daughter.
that might be still, that may still not want a woman as a Hokage.
And with him still
But
being alive, I think he would have been able to help her through her whole blood issue, and I think she would have had a better chance of being a Hokage. She wouldn't have turned to this drinking drunk where her family ends up just dying in war and her boyfriend dies in
I
war.
just
I
think
think
out
he would
of
have helped her get through that
I see,
mentally.
I see, I see where you're going with it. I just think even with them being alive, I think the whole male chauvinistic
Of
era,
course,
I
of
don't
course.
think they would have considered her because just because she's a woman. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So that and like they had to get progressive in the show. That was the whole idea. Like
Yeah.
when they were doing the whole next Hokage thing, it was all about her as a woman. They're like she's a drunk, she's a woman, she's old, she's this, she's that. Like that's what the whole council was. That was their whole rebuttal to
Hmm.
um Hiruzen when they were trying to figure out who the next Hokage was going to be.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Maybe I see that.
That's
I see
possible.
that. Unfortunately, you know, I'm ending up at the back end of saying Minato because Minato still he
Yeah.
didn't really go through anything bad to become strong. That he died protecting Naruto
Mm.
or trying to protect Kushina, but mostly protecting Naruto. So where his reputation up to then
It's still
is
the
the
same.
same,
Mm.
is still the same. So
Because they're
everything else
young ninjas.
after, yeah, everything else after doesn't really matter because that's when all most of the fuck shit happens.
So the
So
question would be for me: is Tsunade in a position where she's mentally able to take the role? If the
I
answer
don't
is
think
yes,
so.
I think she would have been able to take it. If the answer is no, then we're just back to her being a
Mentally,
yeah
I don't
mentally.
think so.
With
I
her
don't think
boyfriend
so.
just dying, her father
Yeah,
is still
her
alive.
her boyfriend's dead. She was falling in love. She was not falling in love, but she was like extremely. When they do the legendary Sanin moments, like when
Mm.
they do the flashbacks, she was not like she was just like I don't want to say like emotional, but she was
Mm.
very emotional all over the place. She like she kind of loved they kind of piqued a interest, the love interest in Jiraiya, and
Wait,
then
that's
like
that was just a kind of thing. Was that not clear to everyone?
I mean it was very clear, but I'm just
Okay.
saying like that's what they did, and then he turned her down. She I think she was very all over the place because you have to imagine they were also at that point they were also in their like late 20s at this time because
Mm.
Minato is like just becoming an adult,
Mm.
so they're still young. You know what I'm saying?
But
So.
I'm still
Um,
giving because Hashirama's still alive and he can be that
Yeah,
role
I
in
give you
her
that.
life.
Yeah,
That's the only reason why I'm even able to like make that bridge because
yeah.
he's alive. He's able to
If he's
guide
still alive,
her
yeah,
if he's alive. He's able to guide her, work through the whole blood thing with her because just like her, he's also a medical ninja, just also a badass, strong god ninja.
yeah. I don't.
You don't want to die.
Uh, well, no, no, it's not that I. I mean, I already told you before. She was
Mm.
probably one of the worst Hokages to me when we did the Hokage
Yeah,
review
she
thing,
she was the
and
worst
it has
Hokage.
nothing to do with just her. It has nothing to do with her being a woman or being a
No.
senju. It's just like, just her mentality, her
Mm.
lack of care for the job. Like
Mm.
yeah, she didn't want it, but nigga, you took it. You know what I'm saying? Like you said yes. That's on you. Do
Yeah,
your
she'd get
job.
annoying where she'd be like, "Oh, I like she act like she doesn't care, or she'd just do a lackadaisical job." But then when somebody else is doing the job, she has the most
Yeah,
to say. Like when Naruto's a Hokage, now she got the most to say. It's like, where
and
was
she
all
just
this
lets.
energy back in the days?
Yeah. And she lets people just do whatever the fuck they want. And don't get me wrong, we got one of the hardest fucking arcs under her in the first place. But
Mm.
like, let's be honest, that shouldn't have happened.
Uh,
You have Anbu Black Ops, you have some of the strongest niggas guarding your gate right now,
mm.
and you send children.
How did he pop up? How did Pain pop up in the village? Like, did he just come
He
to the front gate?
strolled in, my nigga. He
He just
walked
walked
in.
in.
Fucking Itachi and Kisame walked in.
Okay.
Like,
Back in the
wh-
days, the security
wh-
wasn't that good. We had
we're
that
not
one
checking.
dude
Look,
with
we're
the
not
big,
checking cat cards. Like, I don't understand.
the
Like,
spiky hair dude with the bandages on his face. Like our
they were, but the
security
problem is
wasn't
they didn't
up to
have
par.
them, but they were strong. Those two niggas were strong.
I mean, they were
Every,
strong, but we
every
just
battle we've
had
ever
them.
seen them in, and
Hmm.
every fight we've seen them in, they have won every single battle they've ever
When
been
they
in.
fought together, when they were like separate, they were
Doesn't
kind of.
matter. Doesn't matter.
I
When
feel
I
like they were
mean,
just a good team, but the
that's why
problem
we
was they
that's
weren't doing 8 on 8 off, and they
our
couldn't always
foundation.
defend.
Our foundation in Naruto is based off of teams.
Uh huh.
Like, I mean, the only reason why Shikamaru, Shikacho beat Hidan is because they were a team and they were blood raged because of Asuma.
I mean,
Let's be honest.
Shikamaru could have did that by himself though.
Yeah, he fucking dog walked that nigga.
Shikamaru,
He
he a
fucking
badass.
dog
Like
walked.
I'll tell you, back in like OG Naruto days, like even most of Shippuden, Shikamaru was probably my favorite character. Like
Yeah,
Naruto was like my boy, but Shikamaru was like he was that nigga. I was like, I want to see
yeah.
Shikamaru kill somebody else. After he put old dude on fire, like put him in a hole, I was like, yeah, I need
Yeah,
to see that again.
I knew when his dad and Ino's dad was about to die and they were on the battlefield and he was just like,
Mm,
I'll grieve later. I was like,
mm.
that's hard.
I'm telling
That's
you,
hard.
he was that guy.
Like,
I like his son too.
man,
His son's pretty
any,
cool.
anyways, there were a lot stronger people in the village that
Mm.
could have handled that job, could have easily wiped what were the name of the guys that they I mean, don't get me wrong, I love it's my favorite arc. We did a tier list on it. Like the Sasuke
Mm.
Retrieval arc is my favorite arc, but like thinking about it as a leader, there were other people, so many more ninjas in that village that could have went after
I think it
Sasuke.
was
And
specifically she said
yeah,
that they were
because he
not there.
she said that there were some that were on missions, but her main point was that these were the closest people to Sasuke, so they would have the best chance to bring him back.
I mean,
Like
maybe the ones that were there were
if
just
I could
weak.
if I could body him, I don't need to be close to him. If I could put my knee on the back of his neck and drag his bitch ass back to the village,
But
I don't
maybe they
need to
were
be close to
weak.
him.
Like I get like
Like
some Jonins were weak though. Like and she was like, okay, I can send a weak Jonin who may be stronger
I
than them,
I
or I can send people who are gonna get that, that power
hell,
friendship power boost.
we could even split the gang in half and
Hmm.
then backfill it with Jonin that were there that were strong because they would have helped them with the fights that they went in when they fought. I forgot what are the names of the people, the curse mark gang
The
that they
sound
had to
ninjas,
fight.
the four sound
Yeah,
ninjas.
yeah, the sound ninjas where they had to fight like a
Hmm.
Bruce Lee and the House of Dragon, like they had to fight each level
Hmm.
of them. They would have bodied them quicker. We would have had a short arc.
Maybe I think they
I,
were
I
saying
think
that
they
those
would have.
sound ninjas with their boosts with Orochi. With this conversation is whoa, but with their
Yeah,
Orochimaru boosts, they were essentially Jonin
when
level.
when they used their curse mark, they became Jonin level
Hmm.
versus people who've been Jonin already and don't have that.
Not every
And we don't.
Jonin's made the
I
same.
never said that. I never said that. All I'm saying is we had strong niggas in that village, and we decided to
We
send
had
children
Neji,
against
bro.
grown-ups
We had
and a
Neji.
pedophile. Like
That's all we need
you,
is Neji. He
you
just showed
sent
up.
you sent children to a predator's lair.
Mm. Did Neji lose his one? Hold on. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm off track again. Neji
That's this
won
is
his
this is
one.
the biggest conversation in history because of the way he died in the last Shinobi War
Hmm.
is the exact way he won when he fought the spider.
Plot. Plot. They had
Because
to
he
get together
learned because
somehow.
that spider found his like
Yeah, that
his blind
1%
spot,
spot.
that 1% blind spot, and Neji figured out a way to rotate enough to where the blind spot was no longer a weakness. That was his character building moment or his power building moment. And
Hmm.
then in Naruto, when he saved Hinata, it was in his 1% blind spot.
That was his power building moment to help build their moment up. They had to get together somehow. Like they didn't get together after Pain. Kishimoto was like, "Damn, I need something else big to put them together."
The death of your brother.
And then they still didn't get together. They had to get together over a scarf. So it's all good.
Low key, just to wrap this conversation up, one of my favorite Boruto moments, I know I'm saying Boruto, is
Hmm.
when Boruto goes back in time and talks to Neji. And they have the whole like, yeah, your dad is like this and that, and like it makes Boruto like really appreciate his dad. I kind of
Hmm.
actually like that. I did kind of like that. I watched that like episode and a half just
You
because
watched a filler
I saw
Boruto episode?
I saw a clip of it on TikTok, and
Hmm.
then I like went and watched the episodes. I was like, that's kind of wholesome. He's
Hmm.
like really telling him like, your dad is like the shit. Like he saved my life,
Hmm.
this and that. Because this was like they teleported like right before the Shinobi War,
Yeah.
like right before it. And he was like, "Nah, your dad has saved my life before. We fought together. He's great, blah blah blah." Because he figured out who he was or whatever, something like that.
Hmm.
Or no, no. The first conversation was he didn't know who Boruto was, but he asked Neji about Naruto, and he's like, "Well, Naruto's this, Naruto's that. He's this," and he's like, in his head, he's like, "Oh, my dad did all that,
Hmm.
like, but." This would have never happened if they didn't try to nerf Naruto, make him a bad dad and a bad Hokage, just to get the Boruto story across. But that's neither here nor there.